Let me, on behalf of the Government of Pakistan, extend my profound gratitude to the Islamic Development Bank and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for hosting 39th Annual Meeting of the Board of Governors, IDB. Kindly accept our heartiest felicitations on the 40th anniversary of IDB. We offer our special appreciation to His Excellency Dr. Ahmad Muhammad Ali, the President of Islamic Development Bank, for the wonderful work done by him and his team for Islamic world, Ummah and IDB Group under the guidance and leadership of His Majesty, the custodian of the two holy mosques, and His Excellency the Saudi Finance Minister and Chairman, Board of Governors, IDB. Mr. Chairman, Pakistan has experienced a triumphant return to democracy. The new governments at national and sub-national levels that took office after the general elections in June 2013 have generated hope, expectations, and economic activity in the country. They are concentrating upon economic and social progress to strengthen the economy and enhance its inclusiveness. The new federal government has adopted strategies to overcome the country's macroeconomic challenges. We have just begun our second year and have embarked upon reforms agenda in economic and financial sector, which includes restructuring of public sector enterprises, power sector reforms, debt management strategy, fiscal austerity to reduce fiscal deficit, tight monetary policy to check inflation, building foreign exchange reserves to stabilize the exchange rate, promoting exports, incentivizing home remittances, strengthening social safety nets to vulnerables, to income support program, as well as to mitigate impact of stabilization measures through Prime Minister's youth programs, promoting growth and raising domestic revenues, rationalizing subsidy regime to reduce pressures on the budget, and tax administration and policy reforms to widen tax net, plug leakages, and mobilize resources. Excellencies, after a period of 6 years, the country's economy has grown by over 4% this year. At the same time, inflation remains in single digit. Growth in both agriculture and industry has revived. Fiscal performance is also improving with deficit brought down to below 6% from 8.8% when the government took office last June. This has been achieved due both to austerity in expenditures and an outstanding revenue collection performance, which recorded an increase of 16.4% in the first 11 months of the current fiscal year. On the external sides, exports have maintained positive growth, while remittances have also reached a record high of $14.33 billion in the first 11 months, registering 12.39% growth. To further accelerate growth, we have announced a number of initiatives in the recent budget passed on 21st of June this year to spur growth in the agriculture, textile industry, housing, and information technology sectors. As far as the social safety is concerned, we have allocated almost 3 times 118 billion rupees for cash grants to 5.3 million families, as well as for other non-cash schemes, as compared to 40 billion rupees last year. We are humbled that we are providing support to a vulnerable and young population. It is the government's strong political commitment and resolve to accelerate the pace of reforms in Pakistan. We hope at the same time that the international development community will step up its support to the new government in undertaking much needed investments in infrastructure, energy, communication, and social development sectors. Mr. Chairman, such investments underwritten by bold country-owned economic and governance reforms will bring sustained inclusive growth and prosperity to the country. Pakistan in this regard has always considered Islamic Development Bank as a frontline development partner that is both trustworthy and dependable. Mr. Chairman, globally, updated economic projections for developing countries by the leading development partners indicate that an estimated 970 million people continue to live below $1.25 per day, equivalent to 15.5% of the population in the developing world. I had suggested in the meetings with the World Bank and the Asian Development Bank that the poverty line should now be taken at $2 per day, a level with which both the institutions are beginning to recognize now. On the human development front, the achievement of the most of the UN MDGs still seems a far cry by 2015. Taking $2 a day definition, an estimated 2.4 billion people, 40% of the world population, appears to be still living below poverty line. Mr. Chairman, at the same time, the world is transforming like never before. Global production is rebalancing in ways not seen for 150 years. Growth in the cross-border movement of the goods, services, people and ideas has been remarkable. Trade accounts for nearly 60% of the global output. Developing countries have played a big part in this. Between 1980 and 2010, the developing countries increased their share of the world merchandise trade from 25% to 47%, and their share of world output increased from 33% to 45%. Developing regions have also been strengthening links with each other. Between 1980 and 2011, South-South trade as a share of world merchandise trade rose from 8.1% to 26.7%. Let me also state that for the first time in 150 years, the combined output of the developing world's leading economies, including Brazil and China, is almost equal to the combined GDP of the long-standing industrial powers of the North, Canada, France, Germany, Italy, United Kingdom, and United States. This represents a dramatic rebalancing of global economic power since 1950, when the leading developing economies represented only 10% of the world global economy. Mr. Chairman, in a rapidly evolving world where economies can reap immense benefits of global growth, rebalancing through ever greater integration and shared prosperities among the developing world, we need to continuously monitor the progress of the Islamic world. The current situation presents a number of challenges. According for 22.8% of the total world population, the OIC member countries produce only 10.9% of the world total GDP. According to the available economic forecast, this share will not improve significantly in the short term. On the other hand, the share of the OIC countries in the total GDP of the developing countries group has declined steadily and is currently recorded at 22.2%. Moreover, intra-Islamic world economic disparities are also visible in the fact that only 10 countries produce 73.4% of the total OIC countries' output. Another example of such disparities is that the level of per capita output in one of the richest member countries is 18.7 times higher than that of the average of the OIC countries. To improve the current situation, Mr. Chairman, faster growth with enhanced integration within the Islamic world through capital flows, trade and investment will be needed. The development challenges will have to be transformed into opportunities by economic cooperation, technological progress, and research to compete in competitive and sophisticated markets. Mr. Chairman, the role of IDB becomes ever more important to move ahead and to help member countries reform their governance structures, remove structural disparities through growth and development in an equitable and sustainable manner. This also necessitates that the IDB management must reflect on contemporary global economic realities if it has to remain as effective into the future as it has proved in the recent times. We are sure that in the wake of IDB's vision for 1440 Hijri, the bank will become a world-class development institution inspired by Islamic principles and possessed with the capacity to positively transform the development status of the Muslim world. In its transition towards 1440 Hijri vision, the bank must operate on the Islamic notion of development that is much wider and is centered on the comprehensive development of member states and their population. Mr. Chairman, keeping in view the current economic challenges, it is essential that the development institutions like the IDB should not only provide enhanced financial flows but also render the necessary policy advice to member countries to ensure prevention of potentially destabilizing imbalances in future. The increase in financial flows would help member countries to pursue economic recovery and to retain the required level of spending on social sectors. Additionally, the Islamic Development Bank ought to play a catalyst role in promoting investment flows amongst the member countries, besides fostering trade links and reducing vulnerabilities to natural hazards. We appreciate IDB's efforts in supporting Pakistan in our efforts to put the economy on a high growth trajectory by bringing about necessary structural changes for a sustained and inclusive growth. I would like to place on record the Government of Pakistan's deep appreciation of IDB's timely support to Pakistan in eradicating the menace of polio from Pakistan. Mr. Chairman, I conclude by reaffirming our resolve to further strengthen the close cooperation with IDB and fellow member countries. Our joint efforts can go a long way in bringing our prosperity and peace in the Muslim world. We greatly value our close economic relations with IDB and hope that in future we will witness further consolidation of these relations and reinforcement of the bank's support for important initiatives in Pakistan and the entire Ummah. Finally, our heartfelt thanks to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and IDB Group for very generous hospitality during our stay of current annual meetings. Thank you all. May Allah bless us. Ameen.
سوف أعطي الكلمة الآن لمتحدثين قبل أن ندخل في موضوع ما يستجد من أعمال